Hey, what's up, agency owners? Jason Swank here with another episode of the Smart Agency Masterclass. And on today's episode, we're going to talk with an agency owner that built an agency in a different way, but a similar way. And I find it very interesting. So let's welcome David to the show. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here, Jason. Thank you.
Tell us who you are, what you do.
I'm the founder and CEO of Butter Toast. Butter Toast is an agency that works with enterprise software companies, the majority of which come from venture capital and private equity community.
Tell me more about the name Butter Toast.
Oh, Butter Toast. So I was, I won't drag this on too long. It was probably 10 years ago. I was having breakfast with my daughter at a diner here in town. And the waitress drops off the toast, and you hear like the clamor of the toast come to your fingertips, and there's just this slightly burnt toast with cold butter in the middle. And it bothered me. I kept thinking, can you just take a second to do it right, and just tuck that in the back of my head, had breakfast with my daughter, came back and wrote a post on Medium called Butter Toast, and it still ranks there today. And it was about the same thing, not just take a moment to do things right. You don't have to be first, but try to do it your best and don't rush to ship crap, right? For some reason, that got a little pickup and led to some speaking gigs. And then it came time to name the company. And they go, "Oh, you're the Butter Toast guy. Call it Butter Toast." And so that's how it happened. Yeah.
And are you an accidental agency owner, or was always creating an agency the plan?
Creating an agency was never the plan. So it was never, ever the plan. And it came at the request of, I'll compress this story as well. I was CMO at a venture-backed company in Boston, too much commuting, little kids. Left that company. A VC board member asked me if I would come in and help some of their tech companies. I said, sure. That led to them asking if I build a company around it. I said, maybe. Then a mutual friend of ours talked me into it. The VC was true to their word, opened up their portfolio, opened up their VC network, and that really brought a lot of the enterprise tech business to us. And I didn't know how to build an agency. I had hired and fired many agencies with mixed experience, but I didn't know how to build a marketing department. So I built a sort of a marketing department in a box that these venture-backed tech companies could reach in and pull the levers that they need. I've sat in their shoes. And so I've been a growth marketer and a CMO that's very close to the balance sheet. So I align to their KPIs, which goes over very, very well with both the client and the VC. And we've done well with that DNA.
I love it. Just a note to you and then our editor, so he takes out, make sure whenever you move far away, your voice goes way down.
Okay, I'll stay.
Jody will love you a lot more.
All right, Jody, whoever you are.
We love you, Jody. Thank you.
Love you, Jody.
You were mentioning that you've never charged by the hour, and a lot of
Correct.
agency owners and agencies out there charge by the hour. And why is that?
Two things. One, it's not the kind of work I want. And two, it's not how I've run a marketing department, right? So, or how I've run marketing. I'm get paid for outcomes. And so maybe I'm naive, don't know any better. But when I build a statement of work, it's never around what they initially called us for. Like, oh, we need a website update and SEO and SEM. I'm like, okay, well, let's unpack that. Like, what's wrong? Like, what are you doing this for? Then they get to the truth. Then they tell us the outcome. Then we build a SO that aligns to achieving that outcome over a period of time. And it's a mix of a lot of things. As you probably know, it's design and dev and brand and campaigns and GA4 and 1,000 different things that get them to this outcome. It's not one blog post for 300 words that you pay me $500 for, right? And so we would rather be as close to the balance sheet as we can get, right? Which moves us into a position of being not just a vendor, but a partner, which is what people really want. we can move into that position because we've sat in their shoes. I completely get what they're trying to do. And I can also call bullet BS on if it's achievable or not. And if it's not, how to get there, how to show momentum to keep the board happy, how to minimize the budget impact, like a bunch of different things. Um, so we charge for outcomes or retainers on a monthly basis, as opposed to just one time, one offs.
How do you determine with the prospect that you're thinking about working with, what are the KPIs or what are the outcomes? Because a lot of times I see, and this happened to me all the time when I was running the agency. People would come and say, I need a new website or I want more traffic to the website. But it
Mhm.
wasn't the thing that they needed yet. They needed
Right.
to figure out, well, you're positioned in the wrong way. You don't even know who your audience is. Like, how are we going to build a website to actually work that? So, what are the because I think too many people are taking orders from their clients and not being the advisor. So, and I find the people that have never worked for agencies in the past are better at the advising because I guess
Right.
we were
Right.
just like, hey, that's a dumbass decision. Like, you
That's a
want to,
bad idea. Yeah.
I was like, why do you want that? So
Exactly.
what are the key KPIs across the board that your clients look for?
Um, they're different. And so let's talk about how we get there before. So before we get to any discussion around KPIs, I do what's called a call plan or interview with the prospective customer where I ask them, I've got like, they're already written out like 10 or 12 questions I have to go through with them. Right. Some are slight variations on the same question, even though they don't realize I'm asking the same question over three
Trying to
times.
trick
They just
them.
can't
I like
tell.
it.
Yeah. Cause I'm trying to get them to tell me the truth. Right.
Mhm.
And, um, like it said, is like really simple stuff like, what's your tech stack? And, then one of the questions is, what's marketing's accountability to the organization? And so it's a very open ended question. I didn't ask what your KPIs are. I said, what are you accountable for? Right. And so that starts to get unpacked. Then the next question, depending on how they answer it, how are you compensated? Right. I need to know how much of your comp is at risk. Or is any of it at risk, right? That's going to tell me how close they are to the balance sheet or not close to the balance sheet. Those two questions already tell me what kind of indirectly what the KPIs are eventually going to be for this guy.
Mhm.
Then I'll say, okay, who created the plan? Did you? Because a lot of times new marketers come in, it's just what they inherited and they have to live with. And I said, did you influence the plan? If so, how did you influence the plan? Like, what did you do? Did your budget get cut? Like, I'm kind of indirectly getting at all of these questions. And then one of the last ones is in plain English, what do you need help with? You don't have to say yes. You just plain it like exactly what do you need? Exactly what outcome do you want? I take all that information, I put it in an email called What I Heard and Next Steps, and I spit it all back to them in exactly how they said it. And then I say at the very end of that, um, I always miss something. Tell me what I missed and tell me what I should have asked that I didn't ask. And so through that series of questions, that then helps me get alignment before a statement of work's ever created. I know now what the KPIs are going to be. I have a really good sense of the levers that need to be pulled, even if they don't. Then we go into sort of rev one of a statement of work that
Okay.
then teases it out a little bit further.
Why do you do so? You, I like all the questions that you go through, and I love the here's what I heard email.
Mhm.
Is there a reason why it's an email and not another meeting or in the meeting that you were already in?
No, because I have to usually by the time that's done, the call's over, right?
Okay.
And then I tell them, I'm going to send this back to you and you have to tell me if it's right. I've recorded the meeting. So I'm doing a playback and I'm taking out snippets and typing the whole thing back in, right?
Okay.
So I've got to go through that process because I can't just do it freehand, right? Because some people, I'm like, I can type right now, or can I just record this? They're like, no, go ahead. And I'd rather record so we can talk like you and I. If I type,
Yep,
I'm going like that. And so
yep.
then I spit it back to them. And that then typically results in a second meeting. I want to make sure that they're 90% of the way there before I build a so.
Gotcha. One thing I would I love this. The one thing I feel that I would change just a little bit is set the meeting while you're in the meeting.
The next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
because
bad at that. That's a really
right,
good
like
point.
because that's the best time to set the meeting. And look,
Right. They got their
I've
calendar in
seen
front of them. I'm
but
been talking my ear
I
off.
just
Yeah.
got off a mastermind call,
Uh-huh.
and Darby, Darby was on it with me too, and a lot of our members were on there, and he goes every week. Jason and I talk about here's the great advice to go do, and then you know, Darby or I will call each other and be like, "Hey, we need to go do this."
Yeah. No, it's great advice, and it's funny because I had a prospective client do that to me. They're like, "Oh, let's just get the mixed meeting in the books now," and I'm all, "Ooh, it should have been me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I think I'm sure your conversion rate's great, but I'm always looking for little percentages and little momentum in inches to inch up. Because if you could do it in person rather than like if you
Mm.
were doing it to me, I hate to read. I just
Yeah.
I see something like this, like here's what I heard. I'll be like, well, yeah, I told you that. Like I don't want to read it. But if you got on a call with
Good
me and be
point.
like, Jason, here's what I heard. Boom, 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 boom. What did I hear everything? Yep. Did I miss anything? Um, no, I think good. And then you can kind of say, well, based on this result, this is what I recommend us, or here's what we need to do next. Like you literally physically tell them
Right. Yeah. No,
and
that's a
move
good
them
point.
on.
I mean, close rates would always be improved for sure. But no, I normally just take a day to go through that one more time and then send it out. But that's a very
Set the
good point.
meeting and let me know how it goes.
I will. I will. Yeah. There's two. The other thing about it is getting, and I did look at your video about this, about getting to budget an actual, nobody likes giving it up. Right. Because they think I'm trying to negotiate against that number as opposed to what I'm really trying to figure out, which is what they can actually do. Um, I've never been great at getting at that number. Never.
it's it's got to fit your personality, and you got to let them know why you need it, right? So
Yeah.
like I'd always say, what's the budget? And they go, oh, you tell me. And like if I was chatting with you about your budget, like you have a
Mhm.
personality, so I could totally mess with you, right?
Yeah.
I could be like, "What's your budget?" I don't have one. Cool, man. I love working with people that don't worry about money. We can spend all kinds. And then you'd
Unlimited
kind of
dollars.
laugh with
Yeah.
like that chuckle. I'd be like, "Oh, so you do have a number in mind." And then I would go to the serious part and say, "Look, David, I just need to know what kind of range you're staying around so I know what different things we can talk to you about, regardless if it's working with us or someone else." A plan always starts with what are the resources we have and
Right.
what we can actually do. So, what's the top? And then I would start really high. And then I'd say, like, is your budget $1 million, 100,000, 10,000, 1,000? What is it?
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you, like they physically will tell you or verbally tell you, I guess. Physically, that would be kind of creepy.
Yeah. No, no, no. You're absolutely right. Yeah. That's the area even though I've been doing as long as I've been doing this, I've been, if I've lost deals, it's because of that one thing.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Not presenting them a number and something that aligns with their budget.
well, I mean, I lost a deal with Berkshire Hathaway, a company I never heard of. Pitched them like a $20,000 website, and they laughed at me because they were expecting like 400,000. And then, then I was like, all right, I need to come up with some kind of system here. First, I need
Right.
to research the company I'm actually chatting with. That's kind of the big lesson I learned there. I was like,
That's
who
always a
is
good
this
one.
big company?
That's
Yeah,
a big one. That's a big
that was a
company.
big one. Their website's still the shitty website they had back then, too.
I know. They probably don't even care. Yeah.
But that's awesome. Let's talk about what's a big surprise. You've been running the agency for 8 years. What's a big surprise of growing and scaling the agency that you realize now that you didn't realize maybe 3 years, 4 years ago, or even a year ago?
The big surprise in growing the agency, I think, was just how spoiled I was, right?
What do you
Because
mean?
because of the timing at which the agency started and how it started, I never had to prospect for clients ever. Like ever. Not a single time. It just came and just kept coming and just kept coming. Um as I would spend, the beginning of an agency, I am on every call. Then I'm not on every call. Then I'm just on the execution call when the execs are there. Then I'm not on those calls anymore because I'm just in the way. Um, then I spend the majority of my time doing biz dev work, right? Which was me being in San Francisco, sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every single week. And all I'm biz deving is going from VC to VC to VC to private equity firm to VC and meeting clients. And that's all I'm doing, right? And it just kept working all the way through COVID, all the way through 2022. Then in 2023, interest rates got super high, money became really expensive, and VCs dried up. VC referrals dried up. And we were sort of left with an unpleasant surprise of, oh, this gravy train isn't lasting forever like I think it is. And so we had to get very good at doing what we do for everybody else, which was beginning to market ourselves outside of a minor amount of organic content that we did. And so now I wrote a book, right, which should be done pretty soon so I can get speaking gigs. We have a podcast series of which I just recorded the first one. We do weekly videos, which are now on a YouTube channel and populated into LinkedIn. Like it's all of the things that I wish I would have started 8 years ago that we just started this year.
Well, the thing about planting a tree, you wish you planted the tree 20 years ago, or the second time, the best time to plant a tree is today.
Yeah, exactly. It's so obvious. But I really thought that was the best use of my time was more. I wanted more because VCs and private equity firms um, are when they give you a referral, they're very sparse. Like some VCs will give you sort of 2 or 3 in a year. Some will give you nothing for 3 years and then give you 5. It's just so I thought, oh, this is a volume game. I just need more of you, right? And so more was great. I didn't realize that the pond I was fishing in had a very limited size to it, right? Let me stay close to the mic. And that it was very susceptible to the winds of the economy, right? Silicon Valley Bank collapse was a really bad day for us.
Oh, I invested in that. That would I was like, damn
A
it.
significant portion of our clients banked there. And so that was kind of the beginning of that series of things. And we're like, oh, we're vulnerable, and took a lot of hard work to fix it. And we're certainly not there yet. Yeah, not there
Yeah.
quite yet.
Well, it's all about momentum. And that's kind of why I always ask that kind of what surprised you, because when we start an agency and you can go for many, many, many years, it's like, oh man, this is easy. And we're just constantly growing, kind of like what you were doing. And then you hit a certain rate or something happens. And you have to kind of figure out, well, crap, man, that one channel for that pipeline kind of dries up. I always
Right.
looked at kind of, you need to attract, you need to figure out who you're attracting, which you started off knowing exactly who you're going after. You're going after like people that you used to be. So that's the easiest, right? Because
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
relate. But then you need to figure out like kind of 3 different channels, like an inbound channel, a strategic partnership channel, which you had, and an outbound channel. Because what I always found is 1 or 2 channels will go down. That's okay. You still got one other one.
Right.
You can at least balance on a stool with one. But if you have one channel and I kick it out, what happens to that stool? That stool goes down.
Ugh. Yeah. And it is painful. It is. It just, and it was a shock. Like I was a shock to the system. Like, how arrogant am I to think it can't happen to me? Like, it was a stunning course of events. Yeah.
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 But, it's good that you've learned from that. We all have to go through that, because no matter how many people are listening and they're like, "Oh, that won't happen to me." Okay. May not happen to you tomorrow, may not next week,
It'll happen.
maybe not next year, but it will happen.
Yeah.
And how fast you go down and then how fast you're able to recover is the other part. Because I always found when we were trying a new strategy, we were always our outcome, we wouldn't see any effect for maybe a quarter to 6 months.
Mhm.
Like with the
Wow.
book that you have, coming out, don't
Mhm.
expect anything for 6 months, maybe even a year sometimes. Um,
Yeah. Well, the goal with that is speaking gigs. That's the
yeah,
real goal. Like, I'm using the book to apply it for speaking gigs. I mean, it'd be
yeah.
great if it becomes, New York Times bestseller, but it won't. But if it did, it'd be fantastic. But the goal
There's ways
is,
to trick the system.
I've heard, I've never written a book, never published a book. So
What's the
but
book called?
it doesn't have a title yet. Yeah.
I can't help you
No, it has
promote
10
it.
chapters. It's done. It's going through the editorial process. So it's originally a play on the term product market fit, which is a common term for enterprise software companies, right? What we noticed was company agency fit, people really struggle with both the client and the agency, right? Of aligning up the right agency with the right company. And once you're in, continuing that alignment, and how does it work? Like, how do you become a partner, not a vendor? Right. So it's basically 10 chapters on that, of all the stuff that we've seen inside of companies that doesn't work and then does work at the benefit of both the client and the agency itself. But
Yeah,
product market fit is company agency fit. That's why we didn't stick on that title, because it's a very narrow lane. If you don't know what product market fit is, you're not going to know what company agency fit is.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, let us know when you come up with the title. We'll help you promote it.
I will. It'll be better than company agency fit. Yeah. My head of content was all, no, that's not what we're calling the book.
Yeah, I'd be like,
He's like,
I,
no, we're not doing that.
I can't even remember that name.
Yeah, it's
Someone
bad.
held up a book in the mastermind. It said like the no BS something to whatever, and I was like, oh, I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'll be memorable. We just don't know what it is yet.
Cool. Well, this has all been amazing, David. Is there anything I did not ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
Um, what was I gonna say? I thought of something for a second and then I forgot. It was about the close on the client side. No, I don't remember. I think it was. It'd be interesting to understand how it's a problem we have to deal with all the time, which is the changes of leadership inside of an organization. In tech companies, it happens a lot, right? Heads of marketing get whacked all the time. And it's always for us a 50-50 shot if the new person is going to keep us or exit us because they have someone else they like to work with. If somebody has good experience with that and advice on how best to handle that, for us, we're just like, you know, but if they have an idea on that, I'd love to hear it. But we've had to deal with that many times. Like I said, it's 50-50. 50% of the times it works, 50% of the times we're exited.
You know, we have a lot of members that go through that. When those CMOs leave, that's a good thing for them, because then they get brought into the next company that they land. Because CMOs really they have a 3-year term, it seems like,
Yeah, 2
and
to
then they're
3.
switched,
3's
right?
long even these days. Yeah.
But I think it's getting on a plane and being with them right away and
Yeah.
saying, "Hey," and I would probably be honest. I mean, this is what I did. I mean, and ours was probably about 70-30. The one that really hurt was, man, I became really good friends, um, business friends with the CMO of Aflac. And we just
Mhm.
got that account. I'm like, oh, this is golden. And then he got tanked. Like, it was
Ugh.
just when Aflac started advertising in NASCAR. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good, like really good. But whenever the CMOs or new CMOs would come in, I'd say, look, dude, I know you got your own team, probably, that you've worked with. Let's just meet and let's just kind of see where you're wanting to go. Ask those same questions that you told us about in the very beginning. what's your benchmark? What's your plan coming in? And I'll tell you, straight up if we can help you or not.
Right.
And I think the honesty, because think about what a CMO wants. I mean, you know that you've been this. You don't want to have to manage another agency. You don't want to have to manage a team. You just want to come up with really cool ideas. And most CMOs don't even come up with ideas anymore. They're just really management, right? Like I
Yeah.
talked to a lot of CMOs that had no idea about marketing, but they could figure out how to
Me
hire
too.
the VP of marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Surprising, actually, how little they know.
Oh, I'm like, really? Like, and they were like, no, we
Yeah.
just, because we used to interview just CMOs in the very beginning of this show 10 years ago, because I wanted to find out why do they pick some agencies and why they don't. So if
Right.
anybody's listening, go back to some of the first episodes where we just interview the CMOs. Maybe we'll start that again. But if you really kind of think about what do they want and how can you make their life easier, they want more freedom. They don't want to work all the time. They want to hit their bonuses. They don't want to get fired. So how can we make them rock stars? And
Right.
maybe even have just a conversation that way. And then they'll be like, man, this company and this person really wants to help us out. Let's give them a shot. And then maybe even start with, here's the other idea for you. Don't try to go in for the kill, for the huge marriage, agency or record still.
Right.
Just
Right.
say, just try it. Let's just start here based on what you told me. Let's start on this small little project, this small little foot in the door, and be like, I'll do it at cost,
Hmm.
but you have to
Yeah.
charge for it.
Yeah.
You have to charge for it. And I bet that
Yeah.
would work.
That's great advice, especially flying out there. That's not something I do. I used to do it all the time when I started the agency. I don't
No
rarely do
one
it.
does it
Most
anymore.
clients I've never met in person.
Oh my God.
Almost all of them.
We Marty, he's in our mastermind, and we're always talking about onboarding when we in the mastermind to kind of upsell. Because today I was talking about McDonald's and I was like, look, McDonald's doesn't make any money on their hamburgers. That's almost a loss leader, very little profit.
Right.
But what do? Do you want fries with that? That's where all their profit is. So I was going to all the members today. I was like, what's your hamburger? What's your fries?
Right.
Right.
But your
And
loss
think
leader. Yeah.
what's small that we can get our foot in the door. And then how do we constantly build that relationship? And Marty literally, he'd always like his team would bring on a client that he didn't sell, but he would always set up a meeting where they'd physically fly out there within the first month.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
they barely lost any accounts.
Yeah. Sounds like I'm going to be traveling more.
There you go. Awesome. Well, David, thanks so much for coming on the show. And if you guys
It's been
enjoyed
a
this
pleasure.
episode, make sure you comment, tell us what the biggest takeaway is. And if you guys want to be around an amazing community of other agency owners where we can see the things you might not be able to see and just be able to be called on your bullshit a couple times and hear a couple little strategies that you can take little bits and pieces for, reach out to us. We'll have a conversation. If we feel that you're the right fit and we can help you out, we'll ask you to join the mastermind. And until next time, have a swank day.
Thanks, Jason.
I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.